Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Big Apple Hockey Podcast today. We have a lot that we're going to be going over. Also, with the fact that I say way too much, but trying to work that out of my system. Fortunately, I got my two co-hosts coming on right now. Anthony is just grabbing his daughter right now, and Mr. John Falkowski will be joining me in just about one moment. And as soon as he's ready, he'll just put himself right on in. Of course, Mark Williams right there. As I mentioned, the aforementioned Mr. John Falkowski, straight and fresh from the Corn and Stain concert last night. How was it, John?
Very good. Very good time. Corn played a lot of their old stuff. Stain played some good stuff too. And for wrestling and hockey fans in this case, it's Wednesday. You know what that means.
What does it mean?
Fans will get that reference.
For the people that aren't hockey fans or wrestling fans. Oh, I know. Tonight's team.
AEW.
Yeah. And by the way, there are my tickets from the Corn concert that I did not use last night. So a little bit annoyed at myself. I forgot I was completely there last night. By the way, let's get him centered right there, Mr. John Falkowski, and his fresh nameplate right there.
Yeah, I see Sean's already on top of the puns with the stained, but Sean also gets the AEW reference there. Rest in peace, Brody Lee. Joined Dark Order.
And Scarecrow, nice. I like it even better. You corrected it to the C without that.
Love it.
See, I was thinking of corn puns, but when your first thing to use was Dead Bodies Everywhere, kind of the wrong song to use right there, or the entire concert's Falling Away From Me, or Freak on a Leash, or I mean, there's a lot of Corn songs that go through my head. So
I mean, you could use Blind. I don't know. They ended with Blind.
Why Dead Bodies Everywhere? I don't know. This is where I went to right away. So
something wrong up there, or as they would say in the Waterboy, what's wrong with his medulla oblongata?
So a friend of mine, by the way, last week let me know that I say the word way too much. And so I listened to our podcast, which you could subscribe to on iTunes and on Spotify, and actually just listen to myself. I knew John said it a little bit. If it did John as a drinking game, you'd be like, okay, well, that's a few shots. You tried me as a drinking game, you'd be dead. Holy cow, do I say way too much? So I will be coaching myself out of that.
DED, dead.
How we doing? And also, wait, before I get the ticker going, let's get Mr. Anthony LaRocco right there.
What's going on, boys?
Oh, nothing. Hell of a weekend. It was a great time going to the game the other day. If you guys didn't see the video on that, we have it right. We'll put a connection to it right here, although it'd probably be over there by John's head. But it was a hell of a time. Great time. Just great to be back and watch hockey again. Great to be back at the Garden. And it was also great that you guys got recognized. So,
Jalen, cool. if you're watching, thank you for coming up with us. Nick as well. I mean, it's awesome to see like people recognizing us out of nowhere, and we're just sitting there kind of just minding our own business, watching the game, in between periods and stuff like that too, and even outside after the game. It's awesome because you know what? It means that we're doing something good. It means we're doing something right, and we're doing something really, really good here for everybody. And if people are going to recognize us, then you know what? It feels good. It feels good.
Well, we're not as global as you are, Steven.
Yeah, no, Steven. I think you got us there, Steven. You've been on MSG Networks. We haven't been there yet, buddy.
And yes, it's great. We're only getting started, everybody. This is going to get so much better and so much bigger. Anthony,
we were at the NHL draft though, Phil. That counts for a lot.
Yeah, it does count for a lot. It was cool to cover everything live, and I mean, I got to personally interview Alan May, John Shannon, and Sam Cosentino, and Sam was just an amazing interview. He really was. He was so nice, so insightful. Just a genuinely good human being. So I hope to God we could get Sam on the show in the future.
Yeah.
Well, first things first, as Anthony was having a little bit of fun yesterday, he was there's my first one of the day. So he was kind of combining in a couple of players, and he got this one. This is Adam Fox and John Falkowski mashed together. That actually looks like it could be Adam Fox's brother, Phil. So you're one step closer to a Vezina.
Yeah.
Sorry, not a Vezina.
Looks more like Adam Fox than it does my ugly mug, but that's another story.
Well, it could be much worse because here is Mark Zibanejad. And I do have to say, my goodness, for once I actually have a full beard.
Adam Foxkowski, I like that.
Adam Foxkowski. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right.
Adam Foxkowski is a better head of hair than John Falkowski, that's for sure.
Well, would you rather have his hairline or his hockey sense?
I'll take his hockey sense 15 out of 10 times.
All right. Well, we were at the game the other day, and we were looking at the competition for spots because obviously we're seeing some of the players that are competing for spots right now. John, what is your idea about? I know there's the second one. What's your what did you see between, say, for instance, Nils Lundkvist and Braden Steiner last night?
Well, I'll start with one thing, and just to lay a caveat down, and I've talked about this with people online, is that the competition against the Islanders was far better than the competition against Boston. Boston, I don't even know if you want to call that a B squad at this point because it was bad. They weren't good. But there's one for me. Yeah, so there's...
You're not the one with the problem. That's the reason why I said...
You know what? I'm thinking about you doing it, and that's why it's getting in my head over here. So I gotta stop doing that because I'm poking the bear, and I'm getting a little taste of my own medicine there. So yeah, Braden Schneider actually looked better against lesser competition, but he looked great. Him and Zachary Jones were the best pairing on the ice by far, and they were better than Jacob Trouba and Keandre Miller. And Keandre Miller, who really, I would say since the second half of last year, hasn't looked too good. And Zach Jones in his cup of coffee last year looked really good, and they looked even better last night. So, I mean, if Zach Jones keeps doing what he's doing right now, he's gonna force their hand. Same with Braden Schneider. They're going to have to make a tougher decision than they would have probably anticipated before the start of camp. So as for Nils Lundkvist, I thought he looked okay, but again, better competition against the Islanders, even with some of their guys like Matt Barzal missing. I think Nils Lundkvist looked okay. I think there were a lot of expectations on him, and I think that he didn't look phenomenal like everybody would have wanted or expected. So that's why there's this little bit of a feeling, like a letdown feeling towards Nils Lundkvist, and I don't think that's fair. I really don't. I want to see more of Nils Lundkvist before I start questioning things. But I'm going to stop here because we have our guest coming on.
All right, let's bring him on in. And a guy who I was actually just watching him just a minute ago.
Hold on.
Dan's just trying to fix things up with his camera.
Yeah.
I must have brought him in a little early. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's all right. Usually that's all right. And we're going to bring in right now Dan Rosen, NHL analyst. And a matter of fact, I was just watching your Rangers preview just about 3 minutes ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. Doing your
so
homework.
I got a double dose of you right now.
All right, nice.
Well,
good.
And thanks for joining us. I know it's been a couple of years since you were on our other show that we had. It's so glad to have you back. Let's start with the three of us went to the Ranger Islander preseason game the other night, and I want to ask you about two players on each side that fans are curious about: Nils Lundkvist and Robin Salo. I thought they both looked pretty good. What are your thoughts on those guys making each squad respectively for this coming season?
Well, I think Salo's got a very long shot because the Islanders seem pretty set with what they are. They brought in a lot of veteran presence around their lineup, so I think he's a long shot. very much so. But you never know. I mean, things could happen, injuries, guys could surprise and whatnot. But I would say long shot. Nils has got the front runner for that spot on the right side of the third pair for the Rangers on D, likely with Patrick Nemeth. That's what he's been with. That's what he's been with in training camp at times with Patrick Nemeth. I think that's why they brought in Patrick Nemeth to be, that steadying, big, physical, stay-at-home presence on the left side of a third with a guy like Nils Lundkvist. So I would say that Nils Lundkvist has the.
And we lost Dan.
We lost him. Is a little bit of technical difficulty, but
yeah, sorry about that, guys.
We'll get him right back. Don't worry about that. But
yeah,
he is right about that with Nils Lundkvist and Patrick Nemeth. One reason why you got him right there, and that's why you don't want to go with too much youth. By the way, that's number 3. That doesn't count. I think we're not making this into a drinking game.
No, thank God.
Yeah,
that would probably be bad.
Yeah. All right, we got you back.
You got me back now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I don't know what just happened there. It just totally cut out and put me. Anyway.
All right. One time it booted me, and I'm the host.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe they didn't like what you were saying. You know what? As I was saying, I think Nils Lundkvist has the inside track to the job there. But what's interesting for me on the Rangers, especially with their D, is they have so many young D right now. I think Hartford's going to be loaded, really, with a lot of young D because there's only so many spots in New York. But you figure Braden Schneider and Zach Jones and Matthew Robertson. I mean, where does Igor Hayek fall onto this depth chart? He might be down at like 9 or 10 or 11 at this point with the way that the Rangers have developed some young D.
Dan, it's funny because just before you got on, we were talking about Nils Lundkvist and Braden Schneider and then Zach Jones as well and how well Jones and Schneider looked last night. If they continue to play the way that they played last night against some better competition, do you think that could force Drury and Gallant to make a tougher decision than they would have originally anticipated before the start of camp in terms of maybe even Patrick Nemeth or maybe even Nils Lundkvist?
Well, look, Patrick Nemeth signed a 3-year contract. He's on the team. They didn't sign Patrick Nemeth to a 3-year contract to cut him, waive him or whatever. It would be, in favor of a younger player who could go to Hartford and may need more time in Hartford. I mean, you're talking about Zach Jones has played just a handful of NHL games. Braden Schneider has never played an NHL game, nor has Nils Lundkvist. But Nils Lundkvist has played professionally. And I think that, at a high level in Sweden and done very well there, winning the Borje Salming Awards, the best Swedish-born defenseman in the SHL last year. So I would be shocked if Chris Drury and Gerard Gallant erred on the side of youth and inexperience for their D, especially with a team that believes in, and I think rightly so, it should be a playoff contender, instead of going with experience and size and guys who have kind of been around for a while when they don't have to do that. So I do think Zach Jones and I do think Braden Schneider will get games in the NHL this season. But they'll come at the expense of injuries and things along those lines, or just really poor play if it gets to that point. But you're really looking at 2, maybe 3 spots when you consider their top 4 is set. And then when you consider Nemeth is a veteran and Jarrett Tenorti's got a lot of size, and I think he was brought in to be the 7th defenseman. Plus, you still have Anthony Boteto in the mix as well. To me, it doesn't make sense to rush Braden Schneider and Zach Jones based off of how they look in training camp and a handful of preseason games.
Dan, in your NHL preview that I was just mentioning that I was watching, you used a great phrase, which was that the Rangers thought they were in the playoff race last year. And then they go to the Islanders, and then they just get slapped around. And so that's actually why I think this team had to address the 3rd and 4th line and get some sandpaper and some grit. Did this team address all those problems that they had going from playing against the Islanders and the Bruins and then the Tom Wilson incident, of course?
Well, yes, they did. No question about it. Barclay Goodrow is a huge addition. I know people get hung up on the contract, 6 years. I think it's like 3.5 or 3.6 million per year. Don't get hung up on the contract. Barclay Goodrow is going to be a valuable player for the Rangers for the next 5 or 6 years because of everything he does. He's so versatile. He's not going to be relied upon to be a big-time scorer. Doesn't have to be. He can score. We've seen him score. He scored some big goals in his career, man. He scored an overtime for San Jose that won a huge series, and he scored a big goal in Florida last year for Tampa Bay, and he was obviously a huge part of their run on that third line. He's so important. I love that signing. Ryan Reeves, look, we know what Ryan Reeves brings. We get that. That's a no-brainer of what he is, and he will help them in that department. The Rangers will have more pushback in game, not the next game this year. Okay, there's no question about that. Sam Blais, I think, can be a real surprise for the Rangers. He's a guy who scored at lower levels, hasn't really found an offensive touch or an offensive, consistent offensive game in the NHL, but he can score, and he's big, physical, grinding, straight line guy. And what do all those three guys have in common? They've played in the Stanley Cup final or won the Stanley Cup. Barclay Goodrow's won it twice. Sammy Blais won it once. Ryan Reeves played in the Stanley Cup final. So they did address it. The issue I don't even call it an issue. The concern I would have is, can FIlip Chytil be a third line center? And if it's not FIlip Chytil, is it Ryan Strome? But it doesn't seem like it would be Ryan Strome because Artemi Panarin and Ryan Strome have great chemistry together. So it's got to be FIlip Chytil. Can FIlip Chytil be a third line center? Playing in that type of role while also being an offensive threat. That's going to be the question, I think, that needs to get answered for the Rangers this season, for them to show the depth that I think they do have down the middle.
Dan, in regards to the Islanders, the last 2 years they couldn't climb the mountain, which was the Tampa Bay Lightning. What do they have to do this year to get over that hump, or does it just come down to something as simple as avoid Tampa Bay?
Well, I mean, if avoiding Tampa Bay would be nice in the playoffs. There's no question about that. I don't think the Islanders have to do anything different. Let's not forget, the Islanders were 1 goal away from, in my mind, winning the Stanley Cup. Okay, because I think they win that game 7, and that's a 1-0 game. They go into the Stanley Cup final. They're the favorite, and they beat Montreal exactly the way that Tampa did because they were better than Montreal. So, yes, they'd have to play that round, but they're 1 goal away from probably winning the Stanley Cup, and we're not having this conversation. They didn't get that goal, so I understand. Obviously it's a question, but look, the Islanders know exactly what they are. They play to their system as well or better than any other team in the league. Their center depth is really good. I mean, really good. Barzal, Brock Nelson, J.G. Pazzo, and Casey Cizikas, line that up. And that's as good or better than every other team in the league. Yeah, I know we're going to say, oh, what about Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? But it drops off after that, right? They don't have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, but the Edmonton Oilers don't have Casey Cizikas and J.G. Pazzo, right? So they're really good. Their D is solid. I think they'll miss Nick Leddy and that skating ability and his presence on the power play, but that means Noah Dobson has to jump up and be a big-time player in that sense. I like the addition of Zach Parise in a third-line role, that triple P line, which I think they could have with Pajot, Parise, and Palmieri could really be a dynamite third line. And I think Oliver Wahlstrom should play on the top line with Matthew Barzal and Anders Lee. And, oh, by the way, Anders Lee is back. Their goaltending is solid. To me, they are – I mean, I can easily see Islanders in the Stanley Cup final this season. They're that good, in my opinion, and they know exactly what they are and they play to it.
Sticking with the Islanders, Dan, how do you think the loss of Jordan Eberle will affect the team?
Well, that's where Oliver Wahlstrom has to step up. I don't think it affects them at all if Oliver Wahlstrom plays the way he's capable of. And Wahlstrom's a terrific player. He's a first-round pick. He's got an unreal shot, terrific release. And now he should, in theory, get the opportunity. I mean, how dangerous of a line is Lee in front of the net, Barzal doing his thing, the dipsy dudes all around the ice, and Oliver setting up Oliver Wahlstrom for a 1T that's just going to blow you away. I think that's where they won't miss Jordan Eberle if Wahlstrom steps up. I also think re-signing Kyle Palmieri helps in that regard too, because if Wahlstrom doesn't make it, doesn't help you in that aspect, or needs more time, you can always throw Kyle Palmieri up on that line, and you know exactly what you're going to get. I don't think they miss that really that much. I really don't, because they had an easy, natural, younger replacement.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that the Islanders are a power play trigger man away from really being a Stanley Cup champion right now? Because that's the only weakness I see with them.
Yeah, although Pullock's got a huge shot. Let's not forget about that. The guy's got a massive bomb from the point. And I think that Wahlstrom really can be an effective player in that sense too. I think his shot can be a real threat on the power play. Let's see how it rolls for a little bit. And we all know that Lamoriello is not one that's going to be shy about tinkering and adding at or before the trade deadline to make things more effective for the Islanders. But honestly, I don't see any holes with the Islanders. I don't see a hole in. I can make a case for a lot of teams that they're missing this or they're missing that, or I'm questioning this or questioning that. I'm really not with the New York Islanders.
Now, Dan, before we let you go, I want, in the Metro as a whole, the three of us and a lot of other people for that matter, I've kind of predicted for Washington and Pittsburgh to fall off the last 2 years or so, and it just hasn't happened. Do you think this is a year where one of them fails to qualify for the playoffs for the first time in a long time?
I do. I think it could be a struggle for the Pittsburgh Penguins this year. You're going to be missing Sidney Crosby at the start of the season. He may miss 4 games. He may miss 8 games. He may miss more. I'm not sure. But any time that Sidney Crosby is out of the lineup is obviously a detriment to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this division could come down to 1 or 2 points being the difference in making or missing. In fact, it probably will come down to 1 or 2 points being the difference. And those points, you can find them in October. It's hard to make them up in March and April. And that's going to be a problem. And if Evgeny Malkin being out for 2 months, for at least the first 2 months of the regular season, is an enormous blow to the Pittsburgh Penguins. These guys, we all know as good as how good they are and what they've done, and more than anything, they're centers. It's such an important position, and Malkin being out, that's a lot on the shoulders of a Jeff Carter. Even when Sidney comes back, that's a lot on the shoulders of Jeff Carter, who at 36, 37 years old isn't that player anymore. He just isn't. He's been that player, but he just isn't that player anymore. And then you have the question mark in goal. Like, Tristan Jarry was solid last season, but he was not good in the playoffs. And does that eat away at him?
Lost him again. Jeez.
It's that Coliseum Wi-Fi.
You say he has Coliseum Wi-Fi too?
Yeah, he must be. He must be on it.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, maybe he's in.
We got Dan back.
Dan's coming back.
All right.
It says device is not connected down at the bottom there.
We got it again.
Oh, there it goes.
Okay. All right, we got you again.
Again. Obviously, like whoever's running this show likes the Penguins more than I do, I guess.
I'm hardwired.
Yeah, I'm not. That's the problem. So
you're kind of right. I view McCann and Tanev out, with McGinn and Danton Heinen in, a little bit of a downgrade for sure.
Yeah, I think so. 100%. That Tanev is a big loss. He's a grinding third line. Look, we see how valuable third lines are. Look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? They don't win without that third line. They don't win without those players. And that, to me, is what Brandon Tanev is. And that, to me, what Jared McCann can also deliver, too. Big losses, no question about it. So I think the Pittsburgh Penguins can have an issue making the playoffs this year.
I would say Washington, too. The loss of Brendan Dillon, I think, could really hurt them going forward.
Yeah, that's an interesting loss, too. I like Washington a little bit more than I do Pittsburgh. Again, Nick Backstrom hurt right now. If Nick Backstrom doesn't come back healthy, that's a bigger problem. But they have Backstrom. They have Kuznetsov. Obi's still ripping the puck into the net. They got Carlson on the back end. I think their goaltending is solid. I have fewer questions about Washington than I do, about Pittsburgh. And I think the biggest questions I have with Pittsburgh are, the Malkin injury, less so the Crosby injury, but the Malkin injury and the goaltending, because again, Jarry was good last season, but he was not good in the playoffs, and that can eat away at a young goalie.
Another team I think a lot of people aren't looking, or at least their radar isn't showing them, is the Philadelphia Flyers could rebound this year too,
Yeah.
right?
They can definitely rebound with the additions they made, especially on D and Ryan Ellis and Rasmus Ristolainen. Rasmus Ristolainen could be a guy that everybody looks at and says, "Whoa, I didn't realize how good he was," because Ristolainen was stuck in a bad situation in Buffalo for a long time, and eventually that eats away at you. And now he's fresh out of there and into a market that's, believes it's a playoff contender, and I think that could really pay big dividends for him and the Philadelphia Flyers. And we know what Ryan Ellis is. Ryan Ellis is a gamer. He's terrific. He can move the puck around. He's got a great shot. They had big issues with being hard to play against and keeping the puck out of net last year. They're going to be better in that department, but Carter Hart's got to deliver too, and he was not good last year either. So Carter Hart, it's a lot on a young goalie too.
And I mean, lastly, does the Carolina? I know Carolina's going to be a very good team. There's no question about that. But I question Nedeljkovic had a Calder finalist season, and they let him go, and they brought in Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta and also Mrazek out. Would you say their goaltending maybe slightly declined?
I think it's even. With the potential of if Nedeljkovic really was going to start to take off, and maybe it would be not as good as it was last year, but we're not 100% sure. That was one shortened season for Nedeljkovic, so we'll see. There's a lot of turnover in Carolina. Goaltending, Dougie Hamilton out. It's a lot different there right now. So while I think Rod Brindamore is a terrific coach, and they are another team like the Islanders that know exactly how they have to play to win. And when they play that way, they're almost impossible to beat. I think there is a little bit of a question there because of the number, the number of players in and out of the lineup that from what we've seen, but from Carolina. But I think that they're still solid, and and to be honest, I just love guys like Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov. Teuvo Teravainen. I mean, those guys are just terrific forwards. They could play for any team in the league.
Yeah.
Well,
Dan,
what I mean by that is they could play for my team, no question.
I think we're all in agreement. We had that conversation on Sunday. Sebastian Aho is the guy I would pluck off at any of my rivals right now.
Absolutely. He's excellent. He's always involved in the play. He's always creating scoring chances, and he's always got the puck.
Yeah, and great defensively.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, Dan. We're all excited to get the season going, and I think it's going to be a great year in the NHL this year. But we'll talk to you down the road for sure. And he's gone again.
Yeah. We lost him like 3 times in one thing.
It must have been Lou. Lou must have known that he was talking about the Islanders and said he pulled the plug. That must have been the reason.
Okay.
Yes. By the way, John, hey, how's it going? Just joined. What y'all think about Blay last night? I love the hitting. I love Sammy Blay. Let's just get that in. Hey, John, Dylan XD.
Yeah, got a couple of guys I know from hockey. So saw that.
We met a lot of new people on Sunday, introducing you to our cult that we're building. So hopefully,
Nick from Sunday, what's up, man?
Merrier, yeah. But going back to us, competition for the spots. I almost don't see any way that Lauri Painieemi makes the team, just because those spots are already filled. That's 6, by the way. There was 2 in the last minute.
I think the Rangers it's really just comes down to their defense. I think the forward spots are pretty much locked in. I don't know how much competition is really there. I mean, Barron, but I think the interesting decisions for them are going to be on defense. I think for sure.
Yeah, I think Kevin Rooney might win the 4th center spot. I think, like Dan said, I think he's right about that. I think they're going to go with an experience because this looks like they want to be a playoff team. And I really think that they're going to take that mentality and they're going to have the veterans there over the youth. So I think that would apply to Kevin Rooney over Morgan Barron as well.
Yeah. And I do think Nils Lundkvist has the edge for the on defense too. I mean,
I think so too. I just wondered if it kept up, would they have more of a decision to make? Like if he, like how Keandre Miller blew them out of the water last year in camp and in the preseason. So,
and you also remember defensemen usually take longer to develop too. I mean, it helps that he's been playing pro. He's not a 19-year-old green kid coming out of juniors, but I think they're going to be patient with all their young defenders, regardless of which one makes the team.
Yeah, and a little tidbit too that I actually agree with here. DP was right. Justin Richards looked good last night. He did. He made a lot of things happen on that line with Ottman and Brodzinski. So I gotta say I was definitely impressed by him.
Which says something, because I've kind of joked saying if Brodzinski is the answer, what the hell is the question? But there was a lot of good that came out of that line. You know what? You're kind of seeing some good seeds out of Brendan Ottman right now too.
Yeah, and Steven with another good point here. I mean, again, that kind of just ties into what Dan said, is that they were going to probably go with more of a veteran outlook in this lineup. Like I said, you would have to really, really beat the world as a young kid trying to get into the lineup to really get that spot. So I really think we're going to end up seeing.
And there has to be a hole for you too. You saw that when FIlip Chytil came up back in 2017, and you saw that when Anthony Duclair was there in 2015. But it's difficult when the team wants you to get that spot. That's a different story. That's why Nils Lundkvist might be on the opening night roster, though he has competition. We're going to be talking about that in 1 second. And Anthony, your thoughts on some of the Islander guys? Do you think any of those guys could even make the lineup?
Well, Trotz has some high praises from Robin Salo so far. He's liked the way he skated, how he's got himself out of trouble by skating the puck up. The offensive instincts he has with his outlet passes. So the only thing for me is I think there's no doubt he's going to be a defender for the Islanders in the future. Just they have Eric Gustafsson on the PTO. He had 2 assists against the Rangers. Trotz has praised him as well. He loves his veterans a little more than the younger guys. So that's why when it comes down to maybe that last spot on defense, I think Eric Gustafsson probably has the edge over Robin Salo. But Robin Salo isn't far behind. The competition really comes down to the forwards. I mean, there's no doubt who the starting 12 are going to be, but that 13th and 14th spot, the 2 extra forwards are going to carry. You have a lot of guys competing for those spots. Richard Panik, Michael Del Colo, Ross Johnson, Leo Komarov, Anatoly Golishev, and a lot of those got Kiefer Bellows, and all those guys are waiver eligible. So whoever they decide to waive is going to have to pass through waivers. And judging by the preseason so far, Richard Panik's played in both games. Trotz is saying his praises too. He said he's similar to Leo Komarov, just a more skilled version of Leo. He could play on that 4th line with Matt Martin not skating right now. He could also play up in your lineup. So I think for sure he's going to be the 13th forward. That last spot, again, it's going to come down between Johnston, Del Col, Leo or Golishev, which Trotz has said has looked good. He's used them on a line with Barzal and Lee during the training camp days so far, just because he knows he's a more skilled guy and wanted to see if he can keep up. So, it's just those last 2 spots with, I think, Panik already having the 13th spot locked down. But the Islanders are deep 1 through 12. There's no question about who the starting 12 are going to be. It's just going to be those last 2 forward spots. But they have good depth. As Dan Rosen said, they really have good depth. I mean, you're talking, Richard Panik could probably play on a lot of other teams. And on the Islanders right now, he's like the 13th forward. So I have no issues with the Islanders forward group right now. And I'm curious to see who wins that last spot.
No, the only thing I would worry about with the Islanders would just be, like I said, Nick Leddy, the hole there. Who steps up and replaces those top 4 minutes? That's really the only question.
And you got a question though, if it's Zdeno Chara, can he really do it at 42 years old? Because I mean,
He's
after all, once you turn 42, you're decrepit and you're done, and you should just be put out to pasture.
Unless you're Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah. And you know what?
43.
Chara played about 18 minutes with Washington last year, so I think Trotz isn't going to be afraid to use him. He's referenced what Chara's done for McAvoy in Boston. He's pairing him with Dobson in training camp, and I'm thrilled about that. Having Noah Dobson, shadow one of the best defensemen in the last, tenure of 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. He's going to learn. He's going to be like a sponge, and I think it's only a good thing to have Chara paired with him. But it seems like that's going to be the pair to start the year, Chara Dobson. So.
By the way, we're going to go back to the Ranger one second, but first,
I just had to say that.
Highlight the first part of that where Dave had his comment right there.
Yeah,
Jack Johnson scored a goal that was deflected off of Las Vegas' Brett Howden the first time Howden and Johnson combined, seemingly ever, or that will be. But
as long as it doesn't damage Howden's intentions per 60, they'll be okay.
Yeah. Going to Brody's comment, though, Strome, Kakko, Panarin, they looked real solid last night. I mean, Artemi Panarin is the ultimate deodorant for the New York Rangers. They certainly don't stink when he's around.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
that's a nice little analogy right there, I'd say.
Yeah, well, that's, I have to replace some intelligent conversation since I don't say too much anymore. I'm trying not to. All right. But we want to know what you guys think about what were your thoughts on the preseason games? I don't even know what happened. There's 7. I don't even know what happened with the Islanders last night, Anthony.
They won 3-2 in overtime. Beuvillier had 2 goals. Noah Dobson had a goal and 2 assists.
Okay, there we go.
3-2.
And
that one I didn't get to record. I could only record one game.
We're going to be taking a tour of UBS Arena next week, where you'll see a video of us talking about that. We can't wait for that. That's going to be great to see. At least finally the Islanders can get an update arena, and I'm not even talking about with the Brooklyn one that they were at. Just the Barclays was not. Yeah, Kakko on the PK. That is right. It wasn't a great one, but we're going to move on and do some bar talk, guys.
You missed
I missed what?
You missed the whole little topic.
Oh, wait. Actually, you know what, Anthony? You're right about that. It's a good thing we're not moving on just yet. Well, we are moving on to a different topic. But so we keep talking about the restricted free agents that are out there, and this is big news. There are tectonic plates that are shifting. Last week, Kiprusoff re-signing. That was a bit of a shocker to me. Elias Pettersson and Hughes.
Kiprusoff is back. The goalie of the Calgary Flames is back. Kiprusoff.
Kaprizov. Oh, jeez.
You really just call him Kiprusoff?
He did call him.
Oh, Mark.
Oh, I said Kiprusoff, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, well, shut up.
5 years, $9 million.
Yeah, 3 years at 9. That's a good deal, at least to get him in. I don't like giving it to a second-year player, but what are you going to do if you're Minnesota when he's got you over a barrel?
Yeah.
But, Anthony, give me your thoughts on the remaining 3. Which one do you think might be signing first?
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like any 3 of them are particularly close. I sent a tweet in our group before. It says that Pettersson and Hughes right now, talks are ongoing, but nothing seems close at the moment. Tkachuk, last I heard that now he's considering a bridge deal because it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to hammer out a long-term deal. I mean, listen, I don't think any of these go as long as Nylander did a couple of years ago, where he literally signed on December 1st at $4.59. I think they'll all be signed eventually. However, I'm not so confident anymore that none of them, won't miss any games. At first, I thought it would be a shoo-in. I just at this rate, I don't know. I mean, the season's maybe 10, 12 days away. so I'm not so sold on that. And if I had to pick a guess, I would think maybe Hughes signs first out of the three of them. But, I mean, it really could be any of them. But, hey, listen, these three teams, especially Vancouver, Ottawa probably doesn't realistically have any playoff hopes. But Vancouver's a team that could possibly make the playoffs. And you want your two best players signed and in camp with your team. The longer they miss, the worse it is for them. So,
agreed.
It's not a good situation for either of those three clubs.
Yeah, and Steven just brought up a good point. When you miss camp, anytime you miss camp for whatever reason, usually you start out slow. Yeah. And look at Mika Zibanejad last year. He missed a lot of the camp, with COVID. He had a real slow start. That first half of the season was not kind to him at all. And now you have probably your two best players in Hughes and Pettersson, and that hurts Vancouver more than it hurts Ottawa, if anything. Ottawa has no expectations on them. I know that Dorian.
The rebuild is over. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah. Shut up here, Dorian. Just please shut up for the sake of your fans, your franchise, and yourself. Stop speaking, please, because you sound idiotic. But Tkachuk wants a lot of money, and he's not worth what he's supposedly looking for. So if Ottawa caves and gives him the money that he's looking for, that could possibly hurt them going forward. Because then what happens when Drake Batherson's when there's one for me, and what happens when that comes around? When his contract comes up, what happens with him? What happens with Tim Stützle? I mean, he's going to probably be their best player in their team going forward, if not Thomas Chabot. So
Batherson signed a 6-year deal a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about like Stützle and some of these other guys like Norris, guys that they're going to get some big contracts, especially if it gets to the point that Tkachuk's gotten to. So I know it doesn't hurt Ottawa now with the standings and everything like that, but going forward in the next few years, that could be a problem for them. But Vancouver, for a team that should have playoff aspirations, this is a huge blow.
See, I actually think they should really force some of these guys to take bridge deals because they're not putting up Connor McDavid numbers. You got to be kidding me. And you got to give
like $8 million.
Right, but I mean, $8 million right now.
For like a 50-point player,
40 goals last year, and I missed it. And I believe the guy's got great talent. I believe I would put an offer sheet in for Elias Pettersson right now if I could. But also, if he's going to look over at me and go, I want $11 million. No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm not trying to take away any leverage these guys got. This is their leverage. This is their lives. This is their negotiations. But if I'm a team guy, no.
That right there.
Yeah.
It says it all.
Great area.
It says it all.
I wouldn't give Tkachuk $8 to $9 million at all.
No.
I mean, the thing is, Ottawa has a ton of cap space, so the cap space isn't the issue here with Tkachuk. I just.
Yeah, right now, but like I said, you got to look at that team in a few years. They're going to have a lot of contracts that are come up. They're going to be like the Rangers. A lot of guys coming off of ELC and second deals, and they're going to require some big money. So Ottawa, Dorian's got to be smart, and I understand we all know about how cheap Melnick can be, but I'm with Ottawa on this one. That Tkachuk is not worth $8 to $9 million.
Yeah,
he hasn't put up anywhere close to any numbers anywhere close to deserving that type of money.
And by the way, it's good to have a friend like Steven who pointed out if he signs during the season that cap hit gets higher. So
what might happen for Vancouver that helped them is I heard that Travis Hamonic just re-signed with them this offseason, but now I'm hearing that he might either retire or actually opt out, which would save them $3 million. And that would help them because I think off the top of my head, I think they have somewhere around like 13 or 14 million in cap space right now. You would think that's enough, but Pettersson and Hughes can likely get $8 million alone by themselves. So that's 16 million right there. So if they could save 3 million from Hamonic, doing one of those two things, that would help them. But I don't. These two guys, I think they should have made a stronger priority to get them done earlier in the offseason. I mean, I get Hughes wasn't eligible.
I also don't understand what the holdup is on Hughes. The guy can't be offer sheeted.
Exactly.
Yeah, he can't be offer sheeted. He's not arbitration eligible, so he doesn't have the leverage that someone like Pettersson does. So, I mean, I know that we're not going to really.
You're just trying to get him in on figuring out what Pettersson's going to sign for. Then you got to turn to him and go, you're going to sign for this because you want to be on this team. And you really have no other choice. Okay, great.
And seeing.
But this team needs to field the team. They can actually make the playoffs in that division.
And I'm sure seeing that Kaprizov got $9 million doesn't really help Vancouver's case with Pettersson, because Pettersson sees that, a guy that played 1 year in the league and got $9 million already. I mean, that's
older player. He has the KHL as an option, not really, because we've gone over that at a different time. And the other thing is, he was 1 year RFA, and then he was going to. He kind of was using his leverage the right way.
Yeah.
And Minnesota really needed to keep him. And he's got that hardware.
And he's also decorated in Russia. I mean, this is a guy that was, widely viewed as a player outside the NHL.
When we talk about Adam Fox's contract coming up, he's going to point to, right behind him, 8, and then say, look at that Norris trophy I got right there. You know how many Rangers won a Norris trophy?
Yeah, and Steven's point, Anthony talked about that before with Nylander signing literally on the final minute of the deadline on his last day. So, I mean, that's something that we're definitely familiar with. But the thing is I like Joe's point here is how, teams go from we have a lot of cap space to making a dumb trade like the trade that Chicago made to trade Panarin to Columbus to get Brandon Saad back. That was bad. That was really bad. So you got to that's why I was talking about Ottawa. You got to watch what you're doing. And for me, Vancouver, what they should have done was they should have moved Tyler Myers before going and adding Connor Garland and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And even with Arizona retaining on Ekman-Larsson's contract, that's a lot of salary to be taking in for two guys, especially one. And I get it. You want to bring in a guy that's a puck mover, but is Oliver Ekman-Larsson ever going to be worth the money that you're going to be paying him, regardless of that $1 million in retention? When you have Quinn Hughes, who's a far better puck mover and power play quarterback at this point in their respective careers? No.
Also, so when you look up redundant in the dictionary, just see redundant. If your power play quarterback is Quinn Hughes, who are you going?
Why do you need Ekman-Larsson at that point?
Yeah.
This comment, we bantered about this, but look, Minnesota, obviously, I think all 31 teams would have lined up for Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Wild would have gotten fair value for Kaprizov in a trade based on what his rumored, ask was on his contract, only wanting 3 years. I know he eventually settled to 5. But the Wild would have got back a lot. I just don't think they would have got anything to his level that would have helped them for this year. Sure, they probably would have got good prospects maybe for the future, but for the current time period, I don't know if they would have won that trade.
Well, what do you guys think? Would you have traded Kaprizov? Who of these guys would you have signed? Or can you believe that some of them aren't signed right now? Throw it all down in the comments below. We're going to go on, do some bar talk, and we might even have a full show tonight, guys. So where are we?
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer. I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh, my God.
Good news, Phil. I got the ATR gone, but it was still in this one. It's just on my other computer. By the way, tomorrow we will be releasing the Bring On the Hockey Season in the vein of We Didn't Start the Fire. By the way, Steven, I have to send you Billy Joel's Vienna. So you can enjoy that. By the way, thank me later because it's a great song. But welcome to Big Apple Hockey Bar Talk, where we gauge our topic on we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you really confident you're going to buy everybody around? You just feel so-so. You just have a beer, or I'm going to just take a shot, or maybe you just need a shot. So first things first, usually we save like one of the funny lines for the end, but we got to say this. Philk, the New York Rangers will score a goal versus the New York Islanders ever again.
Are you looking for the masochist in me to say shot? Because
it's definitely going to be buying everybody.
Yeah, well, obviously we're buying everybody around on this, but it's just their performance was just pathetic against them.
It was preseason
on Sunday. It was preseason, so I'm not too mad or concerned or anything like that about it. I just wanted to see a goal because I wanted to hear the damn song.
Oh, God,
I feel like I'm the Hanson brothers in Slapshot when the ref is bothering them about, chastising them about fighting with the, during the game and stuff like that. I'm listening to the freaking song.
Oh, wait, hold on. Anthony, will the Rangers ever score a goal on the New York Islanders?
I mean, this is obviously silly satire, but listen, I get it because the Islanders have shut out the Rangers the last couple of times they've had them. So. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just going to make the clean sweep because I also put this one in. Do you guys know who the last New York Ranger was to beat a New York Islander goaltender? Throw it all down in the comments below. I will tell Philk.
Wasn't that Alexis Lafreniere?
Only a few seconds. Who?
Wasn't it Alexis Lafreniere?
It was not Alexis Lafreniere. So the side salad of the NHL. I love that one. I'm going to wait till our second topic before I could get it. I want to see if somebody could get it in the comments without looking it up. But, all right, moving on to the real one on the next one. Braden Schneider could take the 6th spot over a Nils Lundqvist. John.
I'm going to say shot. You know what? I like to bring up discourse and have fun with everything like that and just – play devil's advocate sometimes. I think Braden Schneider has definitely opened some eyes with last night's play. With that said, that was like a C squad from Boston. So let's see what happens in the next few games, and then we'll take it from there. But for now, it's a shot.
I'm going to say only beer. Contracts also play into some of these situations too. Options. Same thing happens in baseball. But the only reason why is if he wows everybody right away, but they're not bringing over Nils Lundqvist and getting him in here to make sure that he's not going to get the roster spot. The very worst case scenario, him and Schneider end up sharing a spot for a little bit, but I don't even think that's going to happen. Anthony.
I think this one is a shot. I mean, I think it's Nils Lundqvist's spot to lose. I really do. Schneider, I think, has some upside. But I think if any young Ranger defenseman takes a spot here, it's going to be Lundqvist.
All right. I'm going to look through. We got Keandre Miller. As a big Lundqvist fan, I think he's got the inside. It's not a done deal, but he's got the inside track. It's not Brandon Smith yet. So we still haven't gotten the right answer on who scored the last goal against the Islanders. That's enough to make me just shake my head still. We're going to go to the Islanders right now, then answer that other question. Kiefer Bellows will be an ex-Islander very soon. Anthony.
I think I might have to go round here. I don't think he's done enough to, elevate his game to show Barry Trotz he could be one of these 13th or 14th forwards that make the team. I think there are guys that are performing better than him right now, and he's waiver eligible. And even though, he struggled to stick, he does have an NHL level shot and release. So I think if he goes through waivers, being that he makes, league minimum, well, Lou never announced what the numbers were in the deal. But I got to say it's going to, roughly 750,000. Someone will take him on waivers.
John?
I'm going to buy everybody around on this. Like Anthony said, I never saw him take that next step in development in anything other than his shooting. His shot is great. He really can absolutely fire the puck, has a cannon, but his skating is okay. his hockey sense really isn't there. He's probably one of the worst playmakers in the NHL if you consider him an NHL player. He's really just not a good playmaker by any means. And I'm saying that as somebody who's watched almost every game of Chris Kreider's career, by the way. So, yeah, Kiefer Bellows, to me, just doesn't have the other facets of the game down at an NHL level, and I don't see him sticking. So I think he's over in Europe sooner than later.
We're going to make this a clean sweep, guys, because it's definitely Kiefer Bellows is going to be an ex-Islander. He's not going to get a roster spot, and it's only a matter of time until he asks for a trade or is claimed on waivers. He might go somewhere else and actually develop. I think it's just he was a guy that never really found his niche with the Islanders. He had a great juniors, World Juniors every single time. If you look back at the best Olympic moments or the best Team USA moments in one of my first videos, Kiefer Bellows is on every one of those.
Curtis Lazar was a hero at the World Juniors. Just remember that.
Who was?
Curtis Lazar, and he's playing
Casey
fourth line
Middlestat
minutes
while
in
we're at it
Boston.
on that one. So
Yeah.
sometimes it might not be that. By the way, we do have a winner in who was the last New York Ranger to score a goal against the New York Islanders. Of course, it would be none other than Statboy Steven getting. Oh, hold on. Comment came through and it switched me. It was Kevin Rooney. Kevin Rooney in that 6-1 debacle at the Coliseum. That's when the New York Rangers lost Jacob Trouba in that game. I believe they lost Chris Kreider in that game too. They missed it.
Mark,
would have thrived under John Spano.
Oh my God!
Oh my goodness!
2 final things on Bellows, Mark. One, you spelled Kiefer wrong. It's K-I-E. You switched the E and the I. Sorry. The second thing is, if he goes through waivers, being that his age and what he makes, and his ability to shoot, I think a team will claim him. However, Lou Lamoriello isn't a guy that really likes to lose anybody for nothing. So if the Islanders do decide he's not going to make the team, I wonder if he just tries to trade him to another team for, a late round pick or an equally struggling player at like a different position, maybe. But I don't know if he'd want to risk losing him for nothing.
Yeah, I think that could happen too. And by the way, as I kind of look at it with his name just now, first off, I should know how to spell Kiefer with all the years I was watching 24. But on the other hand, I go with the Office Space line of not going to be working here anymore. So that's all that matters.
Samir Naga, not going to be working here anymore.
Yeah, it's why is Kiefer not on the Islanders? Because he bellows. So anyway,
yeah.
See, it's kind of like blows, except anyway. So all that news that came
Play the cricket sound.
Well, actually, we got it right here. Just throw that in.
Yeah.
All right, but moving back, all the news that came out last week of our favorite topic over the summer, Jack Eichel is right to have hard feelings with the Buffalo Sabres, Mr. John Filkowski.
What are you all drinking? Because I'm buying everybody around on this one. It just what they did to him was stupid. Kevin Adams, and I've said this for months and months now, has made this personal. Instead of trying to facilitate a hockey deal and getting a headache out of his hair and out of the organization and trying to do what's really best for the team, he's really just dragged Jack Eichel through the mud. And there's no reason for any of this. There really isn't. And to a point before that, Anthony, you were talking about, if with Kaprizov, you said that they weren't going to get enough value for Kirill Kaprizov. Anytime you trade a superstar player away, there's never enough value going in return for said player. There very, very, very rarely are there ever fair value returns for superstar players. And Jack Eichel is not going to be an exception to that rule. He wants out. He's pissed off at the organization, as he has every right to be. And they're mishandling this whole situation. Kevin Adams has tanked his value. So instead of doing something and letting them have the surgery, or just trading him away to a team that will deal with it, Kevin Adams has dragged him through the mud and made this a big, gigantic problem. So, yeah, he has every right to have hard feelings against the Sabres. And any player that refuses to sign there, or a player that wants out afterwards, has every right to feel the way that they do, because Kevin Adams is not just a front runner for the Peter Chiarelli Award. Kevin Adams is the front runner for the I need to take a hike and never be involved with hockey again award.
It's and by the way, I'm gonna go and buy everybody around as well. Which, by the way, it's always good to run into me. I was buying lots of drinks on Sunday, but it's just this. You got to be kidding me the way they're treating this guy. This guy is supposed to be your franchise. And again, I know he's disgruntled. I know he wants out. I know all this other stuff, but come on. You just now, like you just said, you cost him. Hey, Gene, by the way, you just cost him a spot on Team USA. So now it's not even just about him at the NHL level. Now you're impacting the Team USA and this guy's dream to go play in the Olympics and represent his country. And they stripped him of his captaincy. So you're basically saying you're going to trade him. How much more do you want to do? You want to take pictures of him in the shower or something? Like, and leak that on the internet? Like, this is humiliating and degrading. And it's unbelievable. If the situation, it's just terrible. End this. The fans deserve better. Never mind the player, never mind the organization. The fans deserve better. And if he was a New York Ranger, I'd be going nuts right now. I'm already going nuts. Anthony, please stop me from talking.
Shot. No, round. Kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like, for instance, I don't think he has hard feelings about being stripped of the C. I really don't think he cares about that. I'm sure she understands he doesn't want to be there. A team needs a captain, and it's there. I think the issue that he's having is that even though it's in the CBA where the team gets to dictate medical procedures, they should just let him have the surgery that he wanted. Just give him the power to make his own choice in that regard. You know he's not going to be part of your team, for long anyway. You might as well just let him do it and then send him on his way. But how they handled this is wrong. I could see. Here's what I could see. If Jack Eichel was content with Buffalo, and this was never a thing that he was going to be traded, and he loved it there, I could see Buffalo saying, "All right, well, no, I want you to have this surgery because you're a big part of our team going forward." But the fact that he wants out and everyone knows it's going to end, just let him have the surgery. And listen, I understand that this surgery has never been performed on an NHL player, but it's his body, his choice, right? I mean, that you hear that term used. They should have just let him do it. And they're just playing hardball and sticking by the rules to a T, in the sense, oh well, it's in our contract that we have the right to determine. Their team doctors say no. So this is just going in circles now, guys. It's I don't see an end to this in sight. I really don't. It's clear that it's starting to look like he possibly may not play this year, because unless the Sabres wilt on his choice to have a surgery, I don't see how or why or it will. It's unfortunate for all parties involved. Buffalo, because they're not getting back anybody they could use for Eichel if they would trade him. Eichel, because he's not getting to play hockey. So everybody loses here. And I just can't believe it really dragged on this far. I really don't.
It's like trying to sell a car or get rid of a car that is going to need work, and they're still expecting you to pay sticker price from when it came out of the factory for it. Now, first, get the work done. If you did that, because again, if the team acquires Jack Eichel tomorrow, he's out for 2 months. It's ridiculously stupid. This is obviously and you know what I really want? I really do want Kevin Adams to lose this trade. Whoever he trades him to, he gets nothing.
Yeah,
he gets nothing. Good day, sir.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And another thing that Kevin Adams has done is to bring up Dave's comment here about the Kings are the only other team that has anything worth facilitating a realistic trade for Eichel, aside from the Rangers, they moved on. Kevin Adams played his hand so poorly that every team that was in on him has basically moved on and made their contingency plans for this season. So now what he has to do is go back to the situation again next summer and hope that he can get something done before that no movement clause kicks in. Because whatever leverage he had left at that point, if that no movement clause kicks in, sayonara, it's on, it's gone, it's over with.
By the way,
And
just to mention in here, I wouldn't even sign in the signed Billy Joel T-shirt. He just gets a Billy Joel T-shirt.
Yeah, he just gets a Billy Joel. No, he gets one of those Super Bowl T-shirts of the wrong team winning that gets sent to some other country. We don't know where it goes when the other team loses. This would be a great
sign for me to say this. You should have gotten this from Hat Trick Apparel. So that's and those shirts are still for sale. But it's just it's I'm tired of talking about it but we're going to keep on. We're going to talk about this at least once a month for the next month, for the next month, next year. Please, the fans deserve better. Something that's going to be much less aggravating as we move on. Dougie Hamilton will lead the Devils in scoring. Mr. LaRocco, what's your take?
As good as he is offensively, I'm going to say Shotch because I think Jack Hughes really breaks out this year. I think Hughes is going to do really good things for Jersey. He's first overall talent for a reason. I think, he's gotten, as he's matures, he's getting a little bigger, a little stronger, a little smarter. And I just think he's going to not explode this year, but I think Hughes is really going to break out and have a really, really good year for New Jersey. Dougie Hamilton's really good. He's a good defenseman. He can, rack up points. But I think it's going to be Jack Hughes' year.
Phil?
I'm going to say beer. And the reason why I say this is because, everybody's talking about Jack Hughes and everybody thinks that he'll break out. And I do agree to a point. I think Jack Hughes is going to have a good year, but Dougie Hamilton's going to get a ton of ice time. And I have a feeling that a lot of Dougie Hamilton's minutes will probably be spent with Jack Hughes. So on those plays that Hughes is either assisting or scoring, who do you think is going to end up having an assist on a large majority of those plays? I think it's Hamilton. I think Hamilton's going to be involved in the vast majority of the plays that Jack Hughes ends up getting a point in. So I do think that Jack Hughes probably will end up leading the Devils in scoring, but I would not be shocked in the slightest bit if Dougie Hamilton ended up leading the Devils in scoring and did it by a very slim margin.
I think it's Jack Hughes. So I'm going to just say shot. And it's one of those things you don't want your defenseman to lead your team in scoring.
No, you don't. You're right.
So you could say he might. There's a chance. He better not. That's not a good sign.
You're right.
Dougie Hamilton also, doesn't he have some durability issues? Like he's going to miss, he always tends to miss a week or two during the season. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking always like the way my ex-girlfriend used to always say that I always did something wrong. Anyway.
Oh, I thought that was going in a different direction.
Yeah.
So, thank God.
I thought there was going to be a punchline right there, and then there wasn't. But no, you don't want your defenseman to ever lead your team in scoring. Cole Sillinger will be the surprise rookie to crack an NHL roster this season. John.
I'm going to say shot. I don't know if there's any real rookies that come out of this draft class that end up cracking an NHL roster. I mean, if there would be one, maybe Mason McTavish, just because I think he has NHL size at this point and he's got some skill, but I don't even think he makes it. I really have trouble seeing someone from this draft class coming out and making an opening night roster. Or are you talking about making an opening night roster or just cracking at some point this year?
Anthony, I think this one was yours.
I guess opening night roster, really.
Yeah, then I'm gonna go shot, and like I said, if there was one, I would say maybe Mason McTavish. But I mean, Damien Lascelles looked decent against the Rangers last night, so good for him.
I'm going to jump on this before we go to you, and I'm going to say shot. I think he's going to be on the roster at some point during the year, but it's. I think he's going to be on the roster at some point this year, but on the other hand, I'm not sure about opening night, and how that's going to go. Over to you.
I'm going beer, and I posed this question because I read that Cole Sillinger was opening up a lot of eyes in Columbus, and that they were talking about he could possibly start the season centering Laine because he's been that good in training camp. And Columbus isn't really particularly deep at center either. So, I mean, if he's really opening that much eyes and he's playing well and they really like his game, it's certainly possible. I mean, the kid's skilled, comes from a good bloodline. And being that a lot of the top picks from this year's draft have already committed to Michigan and going back to school and whatnot, he doesn't really have much competition from this year's class. So put all that together, I think there might be a chance that he makes Columbus.
I gotta pose this question to you guys also right now. Just before we get to the last and very critical question that we're going to ask. Who gets more points this year, Kakko or Hughes? I think it's definitely going to be Hughes. But I would say who gets more points, Lafreniere or Hughes?
I'm going to say Lafreniere there. I think Lafreniere is going to break out. And he's going to be playing probably with Mika Zibanejad. And I think that's going to help him big time. So I'm going to go with Lafreniere. I don't think it's going to be a sizable gap, but I think he will score more points than Jack Hughes.
Anthony.
I don't know. This is tough. I mean, Hughes is. I mean, you could say Nico Hischier, but Hughes is the Devils' premier player. I mean, he's the guy that the Devils' offense is going to run through. The Rangers have, Panarin and Zibanejad. That are their main guys. I think Hughes is New Jersey's main guy. I think he might see more time on ice than Lafreniere. I mean, I could see it being really close. So it's really hard for me to say. But if I had a gun to my head, I'm going to stick with Jack Hughes.
All right. So, by the way, we're going to throw out a quick trivia question as well, since Steven brought this up. Will Cole Sillinger play for as many teams as his dad? How many teams did Mike Sillinger play for in the NHL?
12?
Philk?
11.
He played for the Detroit Red Wings, the Vancouver Canucks, the New York Islanders, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the St. Louis Blues, the Ottawa Senators, the Phoenix Coyotes, and the Nashville Predators. That would be 12. Mr. LaRocco,
Wow.
The winner goes to you. Wow. By the way, if you complain about playing for 12 teams, but you have a 17-year career, I think I'd be okay having a 17-year career playing for 12 teams.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay having a 1-year career in the NHL.
Right. Like, I mean, Michel Petit had a lot too. Cole Sillinger, Mike Sillinger blew him out of the water. Hopefully Cole won't have to worry about that whatsoever. To our final question, and we're hoping YouTube isn't going to censor us on anything, but a prominent unvaccinated player on the New Jersey Devils will affect the team in the standings. John, I'll turn this one over to you first.
Well, Mark, you don't have to. It's public knowledge that Mackenzie Blackwood is that player. So
it's
okay. So now I can change that.
I switched it already in the.
No, we did. I just didn't update it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's Mackenzie Blackwood, and when you lose your starting goaltender, that's gonna be a problem for New Jersey because they brought in Jonathan Bernier to help with goaltending depth and competition, and Bernier could help. He could end up being their starter. Scott Wedgwood's really not that good, so I don't like him as even as a backup. But Blackwood was their guy. He was their guy. So yeah, I would say that this is definitely going to affect them. It might not be as bad though if Bernier can play the way that he has at his very best points of his career, though. So, but I'm gonna definitely say buy a round on this.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was so focused on that I never put that up. Anthony, I'm gonna go to you.
I'm gonna go beer because it really should only affect them when they go play Canadian teams. So what does that mean? How many times are they going to go to? Maybe around 10 or so? I mean, don't get me wrong. 10 games is a big thing if your number one goalie is not playing. But Jonathan Bernier will help. They brought him in, and then they have Wedgwood too, who's decent backup. But Mackenzie Blackwood, he's a talented guy. He's clearly the best goaltender. But being that he should really only affect them when they're crossing the border going to Canada, it's not going to be devastating. But I mean, it's certainly not good. That's for sure. And who knows? Maybe he changes his mind and he gets it at some point, and it won't be relevant anymore. But yeah, it's certainly not good for New Jersey, though. You want your number one goaltender to be available to you at every single moment, and for those games in Canada, he's not going to be.
And also, let's be clear again, this is about the policy of the Canadian government that you have to be vaccinated in order to be with the NHL working over there. I want to say Todd Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi is in a similar situation as well with the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah,
it's easier to replace a guy in the lineup, even though it's a guy in your top line, than it is your starting goaltender. And Mackenzie Blackwood is their goalie. Is it going to affect them in the standings? If it affects you because of the 6 games you're going to lose them for, and it's probably going to be 6. It's let's see, Calgary, Edmonton. It's like maybe 9 at the most. No, it's not going to affect them. It's. I'm going to go shot on this, and the fact that it's kind of been getting blown up. It makes me have a little bit of emotions about it. That sort of it mirrors what I was thinking about with the Jack Eichel situation.
Well, you want to hear a fun fact?
The guy, absolutely.
Tyler Bertuzzi, Mackenzie Blackwood, and Zach Ronaldo, who are all unvaccinated, and all 3 of them share the same agent.
Yeah. So
that's it. I mean, that would be one hell of a coincidence. So.
And we're not going to argue for or against anything, but it should always be your choice. It's just that simple. And we're going to just move on from there. I don't think it's going to affect them because I do think they got a goaltending that can at least play a couple of the games in Canada, but not that big of an issue. But guys, we want to know what you think. Is losing Blackwood or going to be a problem for the Devils in the standings? Is Dougie Hamilton going to lead the Devils in points? More importantly, Jack Eichel right to have hard feelings with Buffalo Sabres. Braden Schneider going to break the Rangers roster. Kiefer Bellows going to say bye-bye. Throw it all down in the comments below, guys. And we're actually going to do some honest press conferences today for the first time in a while. So,
Connor, just can you give me your sense of kind of where the group is at?
Once again, my teammates come up short.
You just know he really, really wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he wanted to say that.
Yeah.
But hockey players, we're not going to throw each other under the bus. It would be nice to do it occasionally, but that's what we got us for. Honest press conferences, where we say what those athletes really, really want to say. And first, we're going to talk to a New York Rangers rookie trying to break into the lineup. And my guy is Nils Lundqvist. First off, I just want to say it's pronounced Lundqvist. Lundqvist. And I know that name carries some weight around here if you pronounce it a different way. It's going to be something I idolize. I'm going to long to live up for. But the Rangers, they have really put some faith in me. They've made me a good first-round pick, and I can't wait. I can't wait to show them what I'm capable of doing, and I'm willing to put in the work. If you see my press conferences, you know that I'm calm, cool, and collected, not like some idiot hothead that runs a YouTube channel. And I'm going to be very smart, and I'm going to be working hard with this team, and I'll do whatever they need me to do. If I end up starting in Hartford, so be it. I'll work my way back up. I'm already ready to take questions. I don't even need to make this statement any longer.
Nils, how do you take to playing with a veteran like Patrik Nemeth, who's from your fellow native country, Sweden, and what has he done for you so far in this camp?
He's sort of helped me with my transition of coming over to New York and America and being in my first NHL camp. And it's something that some players can get a little bit anxious on. I'm not. I'm very, very calm and cool and collected, like I just said. And it's been a fun camp so far.
Nils, how do you feel about having your first NHL action being in a preseason game, obviously, but being against the Islanders? Obviously, the two teams have a big rivalry. Naturally it was dialed down because it's preseason. But overall, what were your thoughts on playing in your first NHL game and it being against the New York Islanders?
Well, when you play against a good team, it really gets your heart rate going, and that's what I was hoping I was going to have a chance to shine. There was a play in the first period where I was driving the net, and they just didn't see me as I was going there. Would have loved to get the puck, put it in the net, and then, open my coach's eyes. But yeah, there'll be other times for that. I'll have plenty of other times to get started.
Thank you, Nils.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nils.
Short and sweet on that one. So I can't find my mouse. There it is. But fortunately, there was another player that came back to the organization that drafted him. And by the way, he was on the ice for Wayne Gretzky's final goal. And Mr. Anthony Larocco is Zdeno Chara.
So things really go full circle, huh, gentlemen? I took a large part of this offseason to discuss with my family whether or not, I wanted to come back and play another year in the NHL. Once, they were on board with it, I talked to some teams, and naturally being that my family's still back in Boston, I wanted to play for a team that was close enough where I could still see them, not really a long trip, and also have it be a team that I think could possibly win a Stanley Cup. So as I finish out my career. So with that said, the Islanders were a team that were, at the top of my list. There you have a well-respected general manager in Lou Lamoriello, a great coach in Barry Trotz, and they're a team that has been on the cusp. There were a couple other teams that expressed interest in me. The St. Louis Blues were interested in me, but I politely declined that. And then there were a few other teams that inquired about my services. But ultimately, due to location and chance to win, I chose the New York Islanders, and I'm coming back home. 2001, Mike Milbury made the decision to trade me to the Ottawa Senators, and I really blossomed there. My career really took off playing with Wade Redden, had a lot of success, and then obviously everyone knows what I did with the Boston Bruins. But it's so long ago, 20 years. A lot of things have changed since I was last on the island. They're a team that was a little bit in turmoil. Didn't expect to be traded. I still thought I was going to be a piece to the long-term puzzle there, but they were under the pressure to make it back to the playoffs after 7 or 8 years not making it. So they made the trade for Alexis Yashin, and they went from there. But I'm happy that I'm back, and I'm glad that I can finish my career where it all started, back on the island.
All right. John,
Zdeno, Zdeno, now that you're back with the Islanders rather, there's a lot of depth on that blue line, a lot of spots to be, and only a few spots to really be competing for. As you know, their top three is pretty much in place with Pullock, Pelech, and I would say Scott Mayfield. Where do you see yourself playing, and who do you see yourself playing with?
Well, as I'm sure some of you already know, I've been paired with Noah Dobson so far in training camp. I've been impressed with Noah. He's a bright young man. He works hard. And I think he's going to be a great defenseman in this league for a long time. So I'm happy to really show him the ropes and have him lean on me. And it seems like that will be the pair to start the year. So, but whoever Barry wants to pair me with, I'm happy to do so. I know a lot of people question my age. Yes, I am 44 years old, but it's well documented about how well I take care of my body, and I'm still in great physical shape. If I didn't feel like I could play anymore, I would have stepped away, but I'm confident to be able to play heavy minutes for the Islanders if they need me to. And whether it's Noah Dobson or whether it's Eric Gustafson or whatnot, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do what I do and be physical and use my size and reach to keep opponents away. So, but I'm looking forward to the season started and playing in front of those fans again.
Zdeno, so this year, are you going to campaign for the Islanders to bring back the fisherman for at least one game so you can wear your fisherman jersey that you have in your closet?
So I do have that jersey. When I signed, I dug through my stuff and I posted a picture on Instagram of me wearing the old Islander jersey from back in the day, their current logo. I have a fisherman logo somewhere. I just couldn't find it. But yeah, that jersey. I know a lot of fans hated it at the time, but now it's become like a nostalgia. A lot of younger fans like to wear it, and I know places sell it. The Islander team store, NHL store sell it. So I just know Lou's very traditional. And I don't think he'll ever let that come back to where the team actually wears that. But I enjoyed it for the short time I wore it. I know I had the number 53 on that when I wore it when I first came up, but it's a good jersey. But I'm glad that they eventually switched back to the more traditional colors, and I got my 33 this time around, and I'm ready to go and hopefully have a lot of success this year. And don't forget I'm Big Z, and I have a howitzer of a shot, and I play for a man called Big Lou. So you better make sure you call him after this conference call and thank him for allowing Islanders PR to let me come on this show, because if you don't, Lou is gonna be knocking on your door in a couple hours, Mark.
He likes his secrets.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Big Z.
Thank you.
And of course, there's one guy left, and we got to talk to this week. The man who is in charge of the bench, behind the bench for the New York Rangers, Mr. Gerard Gallant, which is our very own Mr. John Fokaski.
So we have a young, exciting team coming up this year. We had a guy that I would say is kind of subpar coaching before me, but I'm a Jack Adams winner. I took an expansion team to the Stanley Cup Finals in its first year, and I'm really good with the players, and I will make sure that the job gets done. This team's going to make the playoffs. We're eventually going to win a cup with what we have here. We might make some additions, maybe a big fish. We could reel him in. Depends on what's going on up in South Canada or whatever you want to call that. But depends on what's going on up there. And we have a great young core here. We have a couple of superstars. We have a franchise goalie. We've got a great team. They're going to play hard. They're going to play honest. They're going to play right. And we're not going to play any favorites with any players who get by on something called intentions. I think it was said. So yeah, we're not gonna worry about any of that garbage. So I'll take some questions
as I'm moving down on that too. All right. So it's a good thing that players aren't going to have to worry about good looks and good intentions. But Gerard, I do have to ask you this. What is it like, the polar opposite of going from a team with absolutely no history to a team with a 95-year history?
History really doesn't matter to me all that much. I mean, it's nice. The organization's great. It's first class. They take care of their alumni, take care of the players well. The facilities are great and everything. The arena is great. The locker room's amazing. But we're not really worrying about history here. We're here to make history, not live on history. This is a team that, for whatever reason, spoon feeds its fans constant footage of the 1994 Stanley Cup final run. We don't want fans to be looking at that and being the only thing that they've seen in recent memory that resembles anything of a Stanley Cup. We want to make our own future. We want to make our own history. We want to add banners to the rafters, and not just one. We want to add multiple banners. We have a team that we feel that can do that at a certain point in time. And what I'm here to do is make sure that these guys buy in and want to run through a wall, not only for me, but for each other. So they're going to get the chances that they deserve. To look at the job that I did in Florida, I've worked with players like Sasha Barkov, Jonathan Huberdeau, Vinny Trocheck, Aaron Ekblad, Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault, and the latter two again in Vegas. Who was William Karlsson before I came along? He was a nobody. Columbus didn't want anything to do with him. And then what happened? He came to Vegas. I gave him a shot. And I put some faith in him, and he rewarded me. So, you know what? I've got some credit that I owe to those young players for helping me out, but I'd like to think that I helped them out too. So we're going to take that next step here. And the playoffs is the goal here. It's playoffs or bust this year. And then we're going to start looking at the Stanley Cup.
Gerard, you've alluded to possibly having a captain before the season starts. Are you any closer to naming a player to be the captain of your team for this season?
Oh, well, you'll just have to wait and see there, my friend. I'm not going to be able to give you any answers right now, but I definitely think there will be one come opening night. I think it's a matter of, crossing some T's and dotting some I's at this point. And we'll definitely have one come opening night. But I don't like the idea that this team didn't have a captain. I think there were a lot of things that happened last year that truly exploited the leadership group, or the lack of leadership that I should say that this team had. I mean, the Tom Wilson incident, that was another thing where you needed a stronger leadership group. You needed the team to come together and galvanize at that point, and they didn't. The Tony DeAngelo incident, I know that he's not with the team anymore, but I think that if we had a better leadership group in place and probably a better coach, I don't think that would have escalated the way that it did. And that's why Tony is on another team where there is a better leadership group in place where they'll be able to corral him a little easier. And I don't think Rod Brindamore would really take any crap from Tony. I know Tony's a scrappy guy, but I think I got my money on Rod in the fight between those two. So we have a real good core here. We have, some real good players. There are definitely some options for captain. And you know what? We're talking about captains right now, but a captain right now doesn't necessarily have to be the same captain in the future. Maybe someone younger comes along and maybe takes that role. But we will definitely have one come opening night. I'm just not letting you know who that is right now.
I'm going to follow up on a question on that.
Sure.
So age doesn't matter to you because you also played with the youngest captain in NHL history.
In Steven Yzerman.
Yeah, up until the last 10 years.
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, all right. We lost your audio on that one, sir. Yeah, we lost your audio all of a sudden. Try to mute you, bring you back. Move, add. John, how about now? Can't hear you.
This is pretty funny. He's speechless.
Oh,
did I die?
I guess exit and come right back. See if that's the problem. I don't understand what happened to your audio.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yeah,
Yeah.
Then why are you telling me to exit and come back?
because we couldn't hear you.
You just told me that now, though, when you can hear me. That makes no sense.
Because I can't tell you that I can hear you when I can't hear you. So, all right, but Gerard, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah. Although, actually, wait, what was your thoughts on Steven Yzerman?
Mr. Yzerman is one hell of a player. He was called Stevie Wonder for a reason. And getting to play alongside of him, scoring 30 goals 4 consecutive times, I got a little bit to thank for.
Yeah, I used to always play with the Red Wings for a while on Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
When my brother wouldn't let me play with the Rangers. Still didn't know. Well, it's what happens when we have the technical difficulties, in all honesty. All right, so Gerard, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So that was our honest press conferences with a little bit of technical difficulties in the middle of it. I would just like to defend myself on one thing. I didn't isolate myself in the middle of it on the American captain thing. That would have been Anthony accidentally isolating me.
What the hell were you doing there?
I was highlighting the comment. I think he was experimenting with, if you do this, does that bring up the one? Or
yeah, I saw somebody fucking around with whatever that was. I was like, what the hell is that?
I tried to make your screen big because you were the one talking, but it went
right. But that's why you have the solo layout that's in the bottom. That's where you do.
Yeah.
So, we could work on the tutorial on this another time. I'm sure everybody.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to do that.
Not keen on that. Let's stick to hockey, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us for the honest press conferences and our tech demo. Apparently, so what do you think, Nils Lundqvist, calm, cool, collected? Is Daniel Chara coming home, or Gerard Gallant the right man for the job? Especially if it's Gerard Gallant and Mr. John Falkowski.
Gerard Gallant and not doing things with technology.
Yes. Well, again, remember Adam, Filk, and Fox. So,
I guess so.
Still better than Mark Zibanejad.
Yikes all around.
Do you guys have any editorials?
No.
Yeah, you know what? I was gonna say like the Gerard Gallant thing, but we're just gonna skip right through on that.
Yeah, tomorrow, I don't know if you really want to do that again after we just did that, basically.
Yeah, it's redundant. They're gonna be fine.
Yeah, this one kind of Sean nails it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hell. It was a lot better than the introductory presser that he had. Again, the footage that they've had ever since they've gotten him to the Garden, of him walking around the Garden and him looking up at the locker room, almost like a kid in a candy store. I think this guy is appreciative of where he is, and I can't wait to see what he does with this team.
I think he's appreciative just to have to be with an organization that's not going to drop him off in the middle of nowhere.
Fuck's sake. Just ridiculous. Anthony, how long until me and John bitch about him?
I give you guys a good month.
No,
okay.
There's time. There's going to be.
I think the honeymoon's at least going to go to January for me. I don't think I might have even you have that a little bit with Barry Trotz. So
yeah, with Leo Komarov on the top line, that was.
Yeah, there might be a certain issue that I might nitpick at, but overall, I mean, this is a guy that I've wanted for a while. So you know what? I'm gonna trust him. And you know what? Even though there might be certain things that I might be not happy with and might have my own opinions on, it's not David Quinn. It's not a bozo that's – and should I be calling David Quinn a bozo? No. That's not a great look. But come on. When the decisions he was making were just – what were you thinking? 5 righties on a power play? Really?
The one I'll go with on that was, again, his goalie rotation was awful. His goalie rotation was – if you won – name a number one. First, name a number one. We learned that as Ranger fans years ago, nobody named the number one more than Mike Keenan did. The backup is a distant number 2. But then he would go Shesterkin, Georgiev. And then sometimes a third. And then Keith Kincaid playing back-to-back games at different points. Like, what are you doing? And fortunately, Gerard Gallant, if for some reason you end up hearing this message, yeah, you're going to get a lot more patience out of me. Though I got to be critical because that's the life I've chosen, the job I'm taking right now. So, awesome. We're gonna start the Q&A now today, guys. So
Nice.
Go right ahead. We'll take your questions.
Yeah. I was looking through some of these things.
Jeff fans were saying that about Salah. I got you
Why
back.
was my audio just removed?
You got everything removed. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, your video got removed too.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. What the hell was that?
You got pulled from the stream, and you weren't like cut out, sort of like Dan Rosen was.
Kind of like Dan Rosen.
Yeah, but he was still in the waiting room, so I don't understand what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, don't worry about it. What do you guys think of the Rangers' fourth line last night? Sean's asking.
If you're talking about the Reeves, Blay, and Rooney line, I thought they were good, and I know there are some fans on Twitter that I talked to that were not happy with them, and someone mentioned that they were outchanced at even strength, 9-2, which I don't even know how that's accurate because they weren't even in the defensive zone long enough for that. So I really liked what I saw last night. I think if they can play like that for a vast majority of their shifts, they're going to be an effective line, and they're going to give you some offense too. And I think Dan's right about Sammy Blay. I think Sammy Blay could be a guy. So
I think you're 100% right, Phil. And unfortunately, by the way, you know what? John D. Lee's got a great question right here. We're going to go to him, and that's
I
no.
thought.
By the way, trade.
I thought
they should have traded Georgiev a while ago.
I thought they missed the boat on that. They could have traded him when his value was high a couple of years ago.
I still think. Hey, David.
Yeah. Oh, this was the question I was looking to pull up.
Yeah. Well, because sometimes a comment comes up right as we're about to hit it. But Dan Rosen was also talking about this when we were interviewing him. And it's just a question of whether or not Chytil's going to be able to produce at that level. I don't know if he's got the game for it. And I really like FIlip Chytil. I like the kid, but is he going to be able to kind of have a little bit of snarl to him? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he has the enough grit for the 3C role. That's my skill. Yeah, I have no issue about that. It's the grit, and the preseason game we went to, I saw him make some questionable decisions, like with the puck, with some passes. So that's my issue with Chytil. I think they maybe need a more prototypical third line center, like you're
all right. Obviously, I'll answer this.
Like Tanev, like your straightforward like 3C.
Or JG Pajot, who's also like
Yeah.
the prototypical 3C.
Yes.
Oh, I almost forgot to say. Go to hell, JG Pajot. I still remember that game. So that 4-goal game against the Rangers. But yeah, 3C's got to have some grit. Now, the Rangers had a guy you could argue that kind of fits a little bit like what Chytil is in Sergei Nemchinov, but Nemchinov was much better defensively. And he never had that snarl you would expect from, say, like a Pajot or a Gord, but he could develop into something like that.
I think third lines in general are kind of undervalued by some fans across the league. Your third line can be a real asset. You know, a good team, a line that shuts players down and chips in offensively. Like, look at Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay didn't have the Gaudreau, Coleman, Gord line, I don't think they win the Stanley Cup last year. I mean, that line was really, really good for them. They were good defensively, and they chipped in. And you know, like, they don't have that line this year. I don't see Tampa Bay winning the cup again. I mean, 3 years in a row.
No. I definitely don't. I don't see them having the replacements either. Phil, by the way, Rich is bringing this up right now, and one positive we could take from the Islander game, and even from this one, Rangers were close to 60% on faceoffs.
Yeah,
in both of those
games
last night. That is very big.
Yeah, I disagree with you guys on Tampa. I can definitely see them making another addition at the deadline, and I think the young guys that they have will come along and they'll fit very well in the roles that they'll be put in. So you could say whatever you want about Tampa, but they're still the favorite to win it all. So, and they've still got the best goaltender. They've still got great depth on defense, and they've still got that top six. So, as for the point about a third line, I think you're right. I think that, you know, you may need more of a prototypical third line center that's a north-south type of guy. Hi, Jalen, by the way. So
Jalen apparently I picked the wrong time to go get a sausage and pepper gyro.
It was nice.
Nice to see you there, buddy. But Mark was not in the or not at the seats at the time. So, but I don't know. I think this is a make or break here for Chytil. I really do. And if he doesn't start to show you more, but here's the thing with FIlip Chytil. If you look at what he did last year, he had 22 points in only 42 games, and he did it playing third line ice time, and he did it without playing on the power play. So if you look at that, that's pretty damn good considering that he was playing with two other guys who are both under 21 years old. So let's see what happens with this team. It is a make or break year for him, though. But here's a real good question that I just saw from Grant. What is Zach Jones' ceiling? I think Zach Jones could be a second pairing defender who can run a power play. I think he's that good.
Okay. I thought there was going to be more to that, but no, and Phil just did it again. He's still in the Phil. Put yourself back in. I can see you. You're right there.
No, I didn't do that.
That's weird.
I didn't do that.
Mark, you should look into why, because Dan Rosen got booted a couple of times.
Yeah, but he got booted off completely. That was the difference. This is Phil's back in the green room, so he's on standby. So that's the good news. Might just be issues with StreamYard right now. So I think Rosen's was probably more Wi-Fi connections. So
yeah, I don't know.
Well, we'll look into that anyway. But again, and he did it with a college coach, as Sean's saying right there. But and now Anthony just did it. Are you clicking things? Well, we got everybody here in the right spots again. Okay, so, but as far as Zach Jones goes, there's a lot of great things that you're seeing from him. And Sean, I understand your enthusiasm because, after all, Adam Fox is from Jericho. I used to play against Jericho. That's one town over from me. So I like what I see out of Zach Jones. The Rangers eventually are going to give up one or two really good defensemen. And that's just something that's bothering me because they're going to pick one. It's going to be Keandre Miller, Zach Jones, Nils Lundqvist, Matthew Robertson. I think Tomo Rayonen is going to have something.
So this question, do they really have anybody on the trading block? Realistically, when it comes time, like, I don't know. I don't know if they, I guess it depends upon the situation. Like if it's the trade deadline and let's say it doesn't look like they're going to be in the playoffs, then yeah, I mean, it's very possible that someone could be on the trade block. But as of right now, if they had to start the season, would you guys say that there's anyone that is?
Okay. I have no idea what's going on because that's mid question. All right. Anthony, go ahead. Yeah.
I was saying, do you guys think that there is anybody like on the trading block right now? Like if
I don't think there is anybody because if for it to be Kreider or Trouba, they have to waive no move clauses. So let's eliminate them right there. The young players still have options to go back to the minors or to junior teams, some of them, and they'll be fine with that. I don't think there's anybody that they're going to be pressured to move. Like Bellows, that was his dad. Kiefer Bellows is going to have to get moved by the Islanders. He's waiver eligible, and how many years are you going to go through this dance with somebody? Can they or can they not? Can they or can they not?
That's if Lou. I mean, as a general manager, I'm sure he has a feel on better than we do if he would get claimed. I mean, if he's gonna be cut because he doesn't make the team, it gets put on waivers. If he thinks that there might be a team that would claim him, he might look to try to trade him first. And I mean, look, the guy, he's not making much. He's probably making league minimum, which is $750,000, and he's still young enough where I think a team would take a flyer on him. I mean, I could see a team not taking a flyer on Michael Del Cole, but I mean, a guy like Kiefer Bellows, I mean, yeah, I could see him getting claimed off waivers if he's waived.
Yeah, I also just can't see him getting much of a return. I mean, unless he's a throw-in in a trade for like a package for like a better player, then I don't see where the value is with someone like him who's basically bordering on bust status at this point. So I don't see it. As for I know that Sean just mentioned he thinks Georgiev is on the block. I don't think Georgiev is on a block because I really don't think there's any type of other backup available that would be better or that could really kind of step in at this point in the organization. Dylan Durant's
and Chytil's not there yet for being on the block either. While we're at
it, you would have to look to a team that has three goalies where one of them can. I mean, because most third goalies in the league aren't really. They're like AHL starters, not really quite an AHL backup yet. You would need to look to a team that has a good third guy that could be a serviceable backup. And I mean, the free agent goalie market. I mean, Matt Gallenny just retired. I think Devin Dubnik's still out there, but I mean, do you really? I mean, I don't really.
What does he have left?
Yeah, I don't really think he's particular.
And all right, yeah, this is obviously an issue today.
I don't think he's particularly an NHL caliber goaltender anymore. Dubnyk is at this point.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything left in the tank really, and even if he does, I don't think he's an upgrade over Georgiev. I don't think there's anyone out there that's realistically available that would be an upgrade over Georgiev. And honestly, is this really the time where you look to upgrade your backup goaltender?
No, I mean, not at this point.
Yeah, you gotta figure out everything else. If the Rangers were a team that was one piece away, or maybe 1.5 pieces away from fire, because I would consider a backup goaltender like a half a piece at this point. If they were 1 to 1.5 pieces away from.
Yeah, we're obviously having some technical issues today.
Can you hear him?
Philk?
It's not
No, he's back. Okay.
Oh, what, you couldn't hear what I was saying there?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, your video's been fine. Your audio is without.
Yeah, your video's clear.
So
I don't understand that.
it's okay, guys. There
Yeah.
are bad days for computers too. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the how did this go? It went well, but there were issues.
No, you're gonna have to put bad.
Yeah, all right.
You're gonna have to
I'll
put
definitely
bad.
put in bad for today. I mean,
Yeah,
StreamYard's
you're gonna have to put bad.
been real good for
Hurdle
us.
stays healthy. Does the Rangers competing at the trade deadline? Well, he'd be a rental at that point. He's an unrestricted free agent this summer, so it would come down to how much the Rangers are willing to give up for him.
I would say a first and a prospect. Nothing really more than that.
I'd probably say a second and a prospect. He's gonna get a first though, because somebody is always going to be getting a first. Here's an interesting question, John, because Anthony's guys, we know where they are. The Islanders are all in. The Islanders are cup or bust right now. If the Rangers are, say, in 5th place outside on the wild card, should they go with the group that they got, or should they be focused on buying to get into the playoffs?
Let's say I'm going to answer this in 2 different ways. One, I'm going to answer as to whether they should or not, and 2, I'll answer as to what they'll do. One, what they'll do is they'll go after somebody like Chytil, because this team's message is playoffs or bust. What they should do at that point is, if the team's not good enough, don't go selling off assets for a temporary fix. It's not what you need to be doing with this team going forward, and especially at this point, because they're a bubble team. And let's face it, Pittsburgh's going to, some point or another, they're going to have that resurgence when both Malkin and Crosby are in the lineup again, and they're playing well, and that it's going to happen. So they're eventually going to be a problem. Philadelphia could be a problem. Washington's still going to be right there, and the Islanders are probably going to win the division, because I think this division's weaker than it's been in previous years, but I also think the Islanders are still the best team in the division. So I think they'll go for it, but they should just kind of let things slide at that point and kind of just ride it out and let the young kids just get the experience if they're going to miss the playoffs.
Because I can make the case for 6, possibly 7 teams that can make the playoffs in this division. And hear me out. The 7th is more of a bubble team anyway. But the Islanders tend not to finish off seasons well. They're very good, but they don't tend to be rolling until they get to the first round, and then they beat up their first round opponent and move on after that. Or, after all, you got the first round opponent having a goalie who clearly had money against his team, because that's the only reason why Tristan Jarry was that terrible. But so I'm going to say that I think the division's stronger. It's just that there are going to be teams beating each other up now. And Philly's going to have a slight resurgence, if not a big resurgence. The Rangers are coming. Washington's regressed a little bit, but they still got Peter Laviolette, a coach, and a whole lot of talent.
I don't know if Philly depends on Carter Hart. I mean, if Carter Hart doesn't rebound, then what are they going to do? You added Ryan Ellis, you did all these moves, but if your goaltending is going to be poor, what are you? How are you going to compete? You're not going to be able to. This division is interesting to me. I think the only teams that really have no shot and are the Devils, and I want Columbus. They're not making the playoffs.
And the thing is, I'm arguing the Devils could end up being a bubble team. Like they can get close. I don't think they're making it. I think they can get close. Everything breaks their way. I'm not a believer in Dougie Hamilton. I like Mackenzie Blackwood. Lindy Ruff, his defense, his schemes is okay, but if they got some good center depth. Mike is asking, First off, Dave's saying Philadelphia making the playoffs every year, like every other year. It's like clockwork. Yeah, it sort of is. What about giving Elias Pettersson an offer sheet? I think it's too late for an offer sheet from any other team.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see that happening at all. I mean, you're talking. No, there's just no way. I mean, there really isn't. I don't see that any way of that happening. The time would have been would have been, maybe when the hurricane around the, just early in beginning in the off season. It's too late for this time. Not really many teams can afford to give him an offer sheet that would be worth Vancouver thinking about not even matching. So I don't know. I don't see that happening. I mean, it's just not. Oh my God. Is he
apparently everyone else can hear him. And then Anthony just got kicked. All right. We might have to cut it short today, guys. See, because I don't understand why somebody's getting kicked out repeatedly.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you again. No. According to what Sean said, everybody else said they could hear you.
No,
so that's why I was letting you go.
Mike said you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, no, we couldn't hear you. Me and Anthony. According to what they said, they can hear you.
No, they didn't. That says can't.
Oh wait, it says Phil, we can't hear you.
Yeah, that's why I just said, Mark. What the hell?
Oh, sorry. I that time I wasn't listening.
Phil, we can't hear you. Mark, you can't read.
Hashtag Mark can't read.
Yeah.
No. Those were all issues that were corrected when I was younger.
Wow.
That was just my attention span.
Wow.
Wait, what do you think of the Rangers' 4 starting centers for 22-23? Graham, I think we're gonna have to correct that at a different day.
Yeah, that's too far ahead, I think.
That's too far ahead. And John Davies asking why Gallant was removed in Florida and Vegas.
I'm going to go with issues with the front offices, because there's no reason to me in which a coach can have success and then all of a sudden just be canned out of nowhere like that. So I think that there were definitely some things going on behind the scenes between him and ownership. I think maybe had to do with personnel. I'm not even sure, but there were definitely some issues going on. And part of that, I think, is also that Gallant is a player's coach. He goes to bat for all of his players. So, but to answer the question on Pettersson, it would cost way too much to offer sheet him. And I think you would have to go between 11 and 10 million to have Vancouver not match that. It's not worth it for Elias Pettersson. And I think he's a great player, but he's not worth that type of money. So,
offer sheeting him? I don't see it.
Hughes? No. Why would you offer sheet Hughes at this point?
No, I don't think that would be.
He's talking about if the Devils offer sheeted Elias Pettersson, that the Canucks would retaliate when Jack Hughes became an RFA.
Yeah, and they would. And I think that the Carolina thing just kind of goes to show you that. Yeah. So
the fans love to throw out those rumors, and then Carolina actually did it this year, which was offer sheeting somebody after the other team offer sheeted. There's a little bit of retaliation, but for the most part, it doesn't usually happen because, after all, the fans were throwing out that the Islanders were going to try to offer sheet Matthews a few years ago as retaliation for them poaching John Tavares.
No, you're not Matthews. Marner.
Oh, either one.
Marner was the. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Marner then. So, I mean, and right now, I think if you're Toronto, you might have wanted that to happen.
Yeah.
So
probably.
Yeah. That team finds more long-term injury reserve than any other team as of late. But players that stood out against the Bruins yesterday, we talked about that earlier. Schneider Richards. Now Phil got knocked out.
I didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Unfortunately, I was in an actual business meeting pertaining to us.
You guys hear me?
We will have our website up and running, hopefully within a few weeks of Big Apple Hockey Podcast. We got a lot of ideas and ambitions for it, so we want you guys to check that out eventually.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you right now.
Okay.
Both their names start with an M, so no worries. And actually, Mitch Marner has an extra M. So it's those were the guys that kind of stood out. And sometimes with defensemen, the ones that don't stand out are great. Because usually if you stand out, then usually it's because you did a bad job. I love that Gerard Gallant's our coach. This team looked, even losing 4-0 to the Islanders, that team looked so much calmer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard to, but I don't know. Overall, it's great he's your coach, but I don't.
But they didn't force the issue at all. That's going to help them.
Yeah, there wasn't much offense really in that lineup, though. I mean, when you have your first and your second lines apart, and your first line is not really even like, listen, Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider is just, he's a ghost. When he doesn't want to be there, he doesn't want to be there, and you could see it. And expecting to get anything out of him in a preseason game, forget about it.
Yeah,
I don't think it's so much that he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be there. I think it's that he's a not a puck dependent player, and he's not a guy that will just go get the puck if he's not getting it during a game out of frustration. I think he's one of those guys. You know, let me give you a different guy about that. Like Zygmunt Palmieri used to disappear for games, and then suddenly he just pop one in the net. The next thing you know, he pop a second one in the net.
Yeah, Ziggy Palmieri actually was leading the NHL in scoring for a while during the 2000-2001 season early on, from I would say October to late November, early December, I would think. And then Theo Fleury kind of took over from there. So,
yeah, wow. And then your audio just blew up right there. We never have a problem hearing Phil. I always have a blue studio condenser microphone, but everybody else will upgrade eventually.
Yeah,
but John always projects. Don't have to worry about him.
Regarding Ziggy Palmieri though, Mark, I guess it was okay that he did, because he was always, I mean, he was an electric player. I mean, the guy, every time he touched the puck, he was one of those guys that you got out of your seat, you know, like he was in a dark time. He was a really, really bright, shining star for the Islanders. That's why it hurt so much when they traded him, especially when who they traded him for. I mean, Josh Green and Olli Jokinen. Yeah, I know Olli Jokinen kind of, you know, made something of his career like after he left the island. But I mean, Josh Green, Olli Jokinen, and Matthew Biron, Marty's brother. I mean, it was terrible. It was absolutely
yeah. And it's just one of those things, and I'm putting you back in. Don't touch. There you go. I don't understand why the stream keeps booting everybody today. But the hey, actually, that's the first in a while too. But what I mean by that is that Palmieri could disappear. He doesn't necessarily need to be a guy. You just get on the puck in an open area and he just fires it. I mean, Chris Kreider's game isn't Todd Bertuzzi's, and a lot of Ranger fans would love that.
My problem with Chris Kreider is that he's as John and I always say, he's not a smart hockey player. He's not smart, and he's too inconsistent. Like I said, yeah, he's got the speed, yeah, he's got the size, but his hockey sense is just non-existent.
Let me break it like this. And this is the way a lot of Ranger fans, maybe the consensus is, we could always say about him. Chris Kreider is Alexis Kovalev 2.0. He's got all this talent, and he's going to come up short with what our expectations are.
I don't know if I agree with that, only because Kovalev could deke you out of a phone booth. I mean, that guy was like, you know, Pavel Datsyuk-esque. Chris Kreider doesn't have those.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the potential the player has versus what his actual production is. Alexis Kovalev never scored 30 goals as a New York Ranger. Alexis Kovalev had a Hall of Fame career, and his only Stanley Cup came as a New York Ranger.
Yeah.
I mean, Kovalev, Kovalev for all of his talent. That guy backhanded pucks top corner routinely. And the thing is, you looked at him and went, why can't this guy put it all together? You go to Pittsburgh, he scores 40. And then becomes magnetic and electric. And this player that we thought he was going to be. Montreal was the same thing. But
yeah, much more talented. I agree.
He's got more talent. I'm not arguing that, guys. But you look at Chris Kreider, he's a big guy. Every Ranger fan wants him to play like, his physical game was actually closer to, say, Ryan Callahan's. With his size and strength, he'd be a lot better of a player. But he's really kind of more of a speed player. That's the thing about it. He's still a great net front player. Go ahead, John.
I get what you're saying. It's a disappointment. I know that like Steven and others that defend him will turn around and say, oh, well, this is what you get from a 19th overall pick. I get it. But that's not the point. The point is that he has the tools to put everything together and be a much better player. And he just consistently disappoints. And part of it is that he just doesn't give you the efforts on a nightly basis. And to me, that's not what a captain should be doing. And I do think that he probably will get named captain, but
I think that would be a bad decision.
I think it would be, I think it would be a bad decision to name him.
I mean, it would be.
I don't think it's a bad decision because he still does all the off the ice stuff. All the rookies go to train with him. It's not a bad decision. He doesn't have to be the biggest guy.
I get that off ice stuff. I understand all that, but it's the fact that he's.
We're gonna wait a minute for Phil's audio to kick back in.
I think he just realized.
I know, and the worst part is he was having a good Philk moment.
Yeah,
that would have been great audio. This is what we got. Great audio today. All right, we're gonna go about another 10 minutes because I think we can make it 10 minutes.
Yeah,
You're back, Philk.
Narc, you got to look into what was going on here today.
Yeah, this is bad. This is
really
bad.
I'll ask. I'll put it in the comments. Well, I mean, any of us could do it. You got the other stuff. Even Trouba getting the C is one thing. And by the way, Rich, the funny thing is, I'm saying Kovalev's a disappointment. He's still one of my most beloved Rangers of all time. He's also an alias that I use anywhere I go. Whenever I go out, I always write down my name is Alex Kovalev.
Okay, but the thing is with Kreider, it's that. Yeah, sure, he's a good locker room presence. Sure, he's in the community. Sure, he does those other things. Sure, he pulls players aside. But what type of example are you setting as a captain when you don't show up for at least half the games? What type of example is that? What message are you sending to the young players on your team? Oh, that it's okay for me to loaf for God knows how many games and then disappear and then reappear and go on fire for 5 to 10 games and then disappear for another 20 to 30? That's okay. That's what you want as a captain. That's why the bar has been set so friggin' low in this organization for as long as it has. Because we have our fans obsessing over players like Matt Zuccarello. And yeah, I like Matt Zuccarello. Matt Zuccarello was awesome. But you still have still Ranger fans crying over the fact that he's not here anymore. 3 years later, 3 seasons later. Come on, get a grip. And now Chris Kreider is supposed to be captain material? Oh, God, give me a break. This is why this team has been mired in mediocrity for as long as they have. Because the fans accept it. Because the fans think that this is what greatness is. And then anytime you point back to Mark Messier being the captain in his day, or Adam Graves or someone like that, or Brian Leach, oh, well, you're just a boomer and you have that boomer mentality. That doesn't fly anymore these days. No, that's what greatness is. That's what the example should be. Not this absolute pile of garbage that we've been handed to us for God knows how long. Oh, well, Ryan McDonough was a great captain. Ryan McDonough was a great captain?
Yeah, they don't know what a great captain is.
Really? I don't think fans know what a great captain is. And anytime someone brings up Messier, they get annoyed because they don't want to hear about Messier anymore. And Messier is overrated. The Messier is overrated crowd is just as stupid as the Henrik Lundqvist is bad crowd people.
Right. Well, that's stupid.
It's all garbage. It's all garbage. We need to raise the bar. We need the bar raised. It's not high enough.
Well, first things first, Mark Messier was a very tough act to follow. Mark Messier
and I'm not
had
saying
trouble
anybody has
following
to be Mark Messier, but raise the bar, be better, be consistent, show up every damn night. You know why Adam Graves would have been a real good captain, even though he might have not been the most vocal guy in the room? Because Adam Graves brought it every damn night, every damn shift. That's what you want from your captain. You don't just want the guy that brings the guy aside when he makes a mistake, taps him on the shoulder, says, it's all right, we'll get that one back, and so on. Or, he's in camp and in practice teaching them things and, talking to them and stuff like that. All that stuff's great, but you've got to be an example, a leader by example on the ice. You have to be.
He's right.
Okay. So
I don't think Kreider's the right choice for captain.
Then in that case, first off, the Rangers fumbled this, by the way, 3 years ago. Why not name him captain in 2018? He was the longest tenured Ranger, or him and Mark Stahl. That would have been two choices right there. You don't have a captain for 3 years. That's ridiculous.
So, and then that's the thing. What changed between then and now? Because Kreider's the same exact player. What? Because he's talking to a guy on the side here or there?
Yeah, he was still talking with Buchnevich back in 2017 when McDonough was a captain.
Pavel Buchnevich is a different story because Pavel Buchnevich was a young player developing. We already know what we have with Chris Kreider. And you know what? If Chris Kreider is vocal in the locker room, good. But he doesn't show up a lot of the times. Do you know that 9 of his 20 goals came in a 6-game span?
Hold on. We lost him. We got to get him back. Because 9 of his 21 goals?
9 of his 20 goals came in a 6-game span this season. That's bad. And you know what? Oh, well, Kreider's a 20-goal guy. Well, Kreider could give you more. And it's not just about the points or the goals. It's about showing up every damn night. And Dave's right. Messier said that when he came to New York, he didn't want to be complacent about the goals. Mm-hmm. He was the guy who said, we're not going to not talk about the cup. We're going to go after the damn thing. We don't have that here. The bar's not set high enough.
Yeah. And 100% on all that. Now, again, this is something I think the Rangers fumbled because they were too busy trying to go, well, we're in a rebuild. We'll let the young team make their own identity, blah, 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 blah. They had a college coach that was learning the ropes and might not have wanted – shut up. We now know it's a mistake. And you know what? Gallant is here, and that mistake is going to be made. Be fixed, I mean. But, I mean, he didn't name a captain in Vegas, but he didn't have to. He had an expansion team. They didn't even have a captain to follow through with. But this team needs a captain. And you know what? Chris Drury was still a good captain for what he was able to do when he was able to be on the ice. Remember I think it was 2011. He played one game, scored a goal that jump-started a rally to get him back, to get them all back on here. So we are going to finish this conversation up and then conclude. That was because of me trying to get you back on, Anthony.
Yeah, I tried to get you back in. But...
It's a good thing we all have the admin privileges now. But it is just that. They need a captain. And you know what? You're not a captain alone. I've heard some grumblings that some people were saying Callahan wasn't as great of a captain, but you busted his balls every single night. What do you want from the guy? Well, look at the 2013 game against the Winnipeg Jets that he ended up blocking 2 shots and hitting 2 guys without a stick. We broke a stick on a penalty kill. And yes, that's what you want. And obviously what I'd love it if Chris Kreider can impose his will as much as he can. But instead, We don't get it.
Just think about this. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in the Islanders when Anders Lee took over the C for John Tavares.
Night and day.
Night and day.
Night and day.
It made a huge difference. I mean, Anders Lee, I think, is a great captain. He just has that personality. And some guys have it. Some guys have it, and some guys don't.
Well, Beijing Winter Games will not allow visitors from outside China. That's interesting. All right. But we're going to leave it off there, guys, because, we can go for a while. But, yes, you do want effort night in and night out from your captain and your leader. And that's what you need. So we are gonna cut it out right now because we're having all these technical difficulties. But we had a great conversation just now with that. I still would go with Chris Kreider as the captain right now, and then worst case scenario, it's a different guy in 2 years. Yeah, I know. It's president of the Chris Kreider fan club.
You are the president of the Chris Kreider.
Yeah. I mean, there was one of the times I said I was a vice president. I was the vice president of my own fictional fan club. But guys, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. We're going to cut it off right here. I'm going to put on the Dan Rosen interview tonight in about maybe 20, 30 minutes. And we'll also, we got a preseason parody song of We Didn't Start the Fire. You'll check that out tomorrow morning.
That's great.
When it's posted. And yeah, well, everybody take it easy. We'll all see you soon.
Take care, everybody.